Robin Lundberg Show with you here live, as I always am, across these various platforms. The X machine, X going to give it to you, Facebook, YouTube, and the like. And, I almost switched the topic that I was going to lead with right before the show because we got this Aaron Rodgers news, I guess if you want to call it that. That was, that came out and people are talking about it. Of course, they're talking about it, which is the thing with Aaron Rodgers. And I didn't really want to talk about it, to be honest. So I'm glad the poll I put up was close enough where I didn't have to pivot immediately. I will talk about it. I will get into it. But Sandy Hook and stuff like that is not anything I really want to discuss. And the whole Rodgers ordeal is so inflammatory and not fun to talk about that I don't know. It's just it's into that political realm of ugliness and grossness and everything else that goes along with that. So we'll wait a minute to get into that as we are leading into the big AEW show, the big business show, the debut of Sasha Banks, Mercedes, if you will, whatever we're calling her. AEW hasn't officially come out and said it, but we all know it is happening. It is taking place. And in the lead up to that, you've gotten this tribalism that we get from wrestling fans. And before I get into that exactly and specifically, I want to tell you a little story. The other day, I am at my son's basketball practice. I'm waiting for him to come out because they dropped him off the back of the parking lot. They come out, and I overhear this other mother talking to this other father about their kids' interests. And it's hilarious because they're talking about basketball and wrestling. We're waiting for these kids who are playing basketball and how much they love basketball. And the other thing they're talking about that they love is wrestling. And I have heard the mother talk about AEW, which was interesting to me because I'm not assuming the younger kid is going to be into AEW. I mean, you're talking about this is a third grade basketball team. So I said to her, he's into AEW? And she said, yeah, he's into AEW. He's into all of it. And then myself and the other dad got to talking about WrestleMania because we're both taking our kids to WrestleMania and everything that goes along with that. So I did find that to be interesting that the kids share the same interests, right? Both basketball and wrestling. And I guess there's a lot of overlap there between fans and people and what kids are interested in and what young people are interested in right now. And that, is, I guess, endearing to me. It is something that's cool to me because those are the things I'm interested in as well. But whenever you bring up a big AEW event and WWE simultaneously, you get this feuding. You get these people going back and forth all the time online. And it's pretty hilarious. And I can't say that I haven't played into it. I can't say that I haven't played into it because I have. It's like the Jordan LeBron thing where when the Jordan and LeBron debate was raging on and going on and you can rile people up with it, I stir the pot a little bit, right? There's no question. I stir the pot a little bit when it comes to that. Usually when you see the, those little shorts that I do, I know that it's going to get the people going. And I'm not like faking it. I mean, usually the angle I'm taking is my actual perspective on something or a comedic spin on it. Like I did the Darby Allin glass spot. I did a comedy bit around that where I said, leave the glass baking to the professionals. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin's music hit. And some people got mad and thought I was clowning AEW or Darby Allin. I really wasn't. I was just saying at that time, it was a funny bit. It was just an entryway for me to make the joke. So sometimes it's just a joke. Other times I know it's going to get the people going. And that's part of the reason I do it, if I'm being real with you, because it helps to get comments. It helps to get engagement. And all these things are good for people like me doing what I do. But at the same time, let me let you know that when I'm speaking long form like this, you're always going to get a more nuanced, more well thought out position than when I'm doing a 20-second video. That you got to grab people right away. But what I've noticed is whenever I do any of those short videos, if I pit AEW against WWE in some way, shape, or form, they always do well. They always do well. And I guess you can see it out there in the online world because the fans of these companies are constantly going back and forth, where you can't go a day without seeing some sort of pot shot taken one direction or the other. Whether it's about the lack of attendance at AEW or the lack of matches in WWE. I mean, that is the stupidest criticism I've ever seen, by the way, which has come out a lot lately. I think it was about SmackDown last week. There were only however many minutes of matches versus however many minutes of segments and talking. Well, I got news for you. That's professional wrestling. That's sports entertainment, right? I mean, when you go back and you ask people what are the most memorable things that they have, the biggest moments that they have, their attachments to pro wrestling, usually it's going to be like, oh, yeah, it's the Macho Man Randy Savage. Or, what you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Or Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. Or it doesn't matter what your name is. Eventually you'll get to Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man at WrestleMania 3, or Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10, or Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, or whatever AEW match people want to say is the best AEW match of all time. I know AEW fans are obsessed with work rate, but the fans out there look silly when they're sitting there saying, oh, there was just this much talking versus this much matching, fighting, wrestling, if you will. That is, it's just stupid to me. It really is. It's stupid to me because that's part of the business. That is part of the way these things go down and work. Now, AEW has been good for the business too. They sort of position themselves to begin with as the anti-WWE company and the wrestling fans wrestling company. I've often said, in a way, AEW is akin to Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement, right? Like, it is those fans, the kind of fans who would be behind Daniel Bryan, who went over to AEW and really gave it that energy when it first started. Now, I've also made the case that eventually, in order to expand and get bigger and take off and hit the next level, they're going to have to bring in some of the casuals. They're going to have to open up the umbrella, if you will, open up the tent to more people. That's the truth of the matter. But as is, they've helped the business because they've helped make WWE better. They've helped energize the product. They've, woken up some members of the fan base. I mean, I see, what was the thing going on today? Everybody was passing around that one quote, like, I'm not an AEW, I'm not paid by AEW, blah, 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 blah. But, I'm just an AEW fan. They brought my love of wrestling back. But I remember watching the other day, I was watching the A&E thing that was on, that they do, those documentary shows. And it was Razor Ramon. It was Scott Hall's AEW thing. Or AEW, A&E thing. Sorry. Freudian slip there. It was Scott Hall's thing. And he recounted through, obviously, rest in peace, through an interview he had done, the whole NWO invasion angle. And in a way, there's some similarities there, and there's some parallels there. Now, AEW has not gotten to the level where they're beating WWE the way WCW did back at that time period. But I remember seeing Hall and Nash show up on Nitro and knowing them as Razor Ramon and Diesel. And at the time thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen something so rebellious and so cool. So rebellious and so cool. And other people felt that way too, because there was never a time, like, I remember being a youngster, when I was young, watching Hulk Hogan, watching WrestleMania 3, watching Andre the Giant get body slammed and all that. And that was probably the moment that brought more people into professional wrestling than anything prior to that. Until the Attitude Era, which was birthed by the NWO. By the NWO and by all of the energy that was around that at the time, which led to Stone Cold Steve Austin and led to The Rock. And eventually the product, I guess, got a little stale, because even myself, I checked out and became what I call a parachute fan, where I would check back in for the big events, and I would always kind of keep up, but I wasn't dialed in every week like I was back when I was in high school. I mean, if you remember the Attitude Era, like, the coolest thing in the world was wrestling. The coolest thing in the world was wearing an Austin 316 shirt to school and talking about Monday Night Raw and Nitro. So with that said, I do think there is room for preferences, right? Like, you can like both WWE and AEW. There doesn't only have to be one company. And I get, if I'm being completely real with you, I prefer WWE to AEW. I prefer the personalities. I prefer the superstars. I prefer the characters. I prefer the angles. I prefer the promo work, all that. And I think the matches in WWE are great too. I mean, I think the WWE roster is completely stacked. With that said, for some of the pot shots I've taken as jokes, I appreciate what AEW has brought to the table. And I talked about this last week. I thought the Darby Allin spot, while it may have been a little dumb, was also very dope. It looked cool. Objectively, like, it looked cool. I thought the way they introduced Okada was pretty damn cool, because they actually did involve him in an angle. That's what I've been asking for from that company, is to make me interested in these people, not just, all right, I've heard about this wrestler, therefore this wrestler is great, and therefore I must watch this wrestler. Because look, let's be honest. Like, Will Ospreay is not a draw right now, because there's nothing to him. Nobody knows him beyond the hardcore fans. I mean, nobody knows him. Nobody has a connection to him. What they did with Okada could develop a connection. Now there's the debut of Sasha/Mercedes tonight, momentarily, about 10 minutes from now. So another reason I started with this rather than the other topic, because I know people are going to gravitate over there when that happens. And I've always been a fan of hers. And I thought that was a big signing for AEW. I thought it was a big signing for them. I thought she's a major player. She is somebody that people know. I mean, she was in The Mandalorian and all that stuff. She has a certain level of star power. Now the question is, does that last beyond 1 week? How do they bring her in? How do they make her compelling week after week after week? Because that's what the WWE has done. The Bloodline stuff has lasted for years. The Rock only took it up another level. Cody Rhodes has garnered, this support from the fans since coming back from AEW that has lasted for years. How do they keep that going? How do they do something like that over in AEW? And beyond that, the women too, Rhea Ripley, eat, sleep, breathe. Like, she comes out and everybody goes crazy every time, mommy. Those are the things that people attach themselves to. Those are the things that people remember. Those are the things people buy merchandise for. And I think that's the stuff AEW still needs to work on. But Sasha has that star power. The question is it a momentary bump or does it continue? And what do they do with Okada? These other things. And when you're looking at stars that were created in AEW, I would say it's MJF was the most organic star just from that company. And then Jade, who's now, of course, in WWE. CM Punk was the biggest moment in the company's history when he came back and made his AEW debut. But I'm just curious from you guys out there, how many of you are both WWE and AEW fans? How many of you participate in this tribalism that you see online? Because, I mean, look at some of the people that are over in AEW. Obviously, Paul White and Daniel Bryan and Taz and Jim Ross and some of the greats and the legends of the game. So, you don't want to, people that are also, purists and big fans in that way. So I want to say AEW has been good for the business, and I don't want to crap on it. With that said, WWE has been my preference. So I see the reaction you can get from stirring the pot a little bit. And I have to admit, I've been guilty of stirring the pot a little bit in the past. But that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of both and don't think there is room for both. I think it remains to be seen how AEW evolves, because WWE is on another level right now. And another thing that's real weird before I get to some of your comments, that whole rooting for the downfall of all the executives in WWE, come on. I see that from some of the AEW cultists. You guys got to calm yourselves. You shouldn't be upset that you haven't seen Triple H's name in there. You should be happy. You don't want anybody involved with that. And Brock Lesnar, the reports that he may come back. Hopefully Brock Lesnar does come back, because it would mean they looked into it and he's not guilty of anything insidious. And who doesn't want to see Brock Lesnar if he's not guilty of something terrible? You want to see Brock, he's Brock freaking Lesnar. And celebrating or it's those people don't care about the actual case. They care about their agenda. Kevin Zwicker, honestly, to me, it's easy to enjoy both companies. They both present wrestling in completely different ways. One is more promo and story driven. The other is in-ring driven. Yeah, I mean, look, that's kind of the long and short of it. See, I think WWE's in-ring product is strong, though. That's the thing. People act like the in-ring product is not strong. They bring it on the PLEs. When's the last WWE PLE that wasn't a banger or close to it? But yes, that's where the divide most people would say. Takara Wrestling, did Triple H give Trinity and Bayley permission to head to AEW, or would they be like, screw the contract tampering, I'm going to do me? I did see that. I didn't know if that was actually confirmed. Is that actually confirmed that those two are there? I'm sure they were probably. Look, I don't think, especially Trinity in her position right now, given what happened before, I don't think she would probably be that reckless to then go to Boston to support the boss. Without it meaning. So yeah, it looks like they might be there. That's been the report. I saw the pictures and stuff. Let me share a picture up on the screen. But I didn't know if it was I didn't have time to confirm it. I was dropping my daughter off at her class and stuff. But this is the picture that was floating out online. I'm sure they got permission. I think it was Mark Henry say that AEW should work with WWE to give Dustin Rhodes permission to show up at WrestleMania to back his brother Cody, of course. That. So what was the AEW got mentioned on the broadcast recently? Sting's last match got mentioned on WWE. And here's the real truth of it. AEW is not competition for WWE. Well, they are competition for WWE. They are not an equal. They are a lesser competition. And when I say lesser, it doesn't mean the quality has to be lesser. It doesn't mean you can't think it's better. There are indie films that make people happy or that people prefer to big budget monster films. But some of those indie films are never going to be Avengers Endgame, right? And that's what WWE is right now. I mean, WWE is the big leagues when it comes to eyeballs, viewership, ticket sales. Look at the Netflix deal. You can't deny it. So when I say that, I'm not trying to say, superior versus inferior. I'm just trying to say that a lot of people are, watching one. It's just a bigger deal. But I did find it interesting, like I said, at that basketball practice I was at, I did find it interesting that the kids were into AEW. The at least the one kid. It was just one kid. But we're talking 9-year-olds, right? And when I think of a 9-year-old, I'm thinking WWE, not AEW. But that could be a good sign for AEW. It's really just a good sign, I think, for the business in general. And for people like me whose shared interests are basketball and wrestling. So we'll see how this Mercedes debut goes. We'll see how big business is, the big surprise that is coming up. I keep seeing people say that All Elite graphic is going to hit. Is it really? I mean, we've all kind of known it for a minute now. I didn't know that was going to be a big surprise. I don't think WWE fans are going to be in their feelings at this point. I mean, you look at the WWE women's roster; it is so stacked. It is so stacked. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I've seen out there. I don't know about that. I don't really know about that, guys. I think we're all kind of expecting it at this point. But I mean, the WWE women's roster from Rhea Ripley to Bianca Belair to Becky Lynch to Charlotte Flair when she gets back to Bayley to Jade Cargill to Io Sky to Tiffany Stratton to Naomi, on and on and on, stacked. So I think maybe that was the play for Sasha to be the big fish in the littler pond. I mean, she already hinted that she'll be back in WWE one day. You can continue to comment on that. I read your comment before as you were just trying to get my attention. I like the anime cat. Is that what we got going on there? Obviously, probably an AEW fan, right? The New Japan connections and everything like that. I don't want to make assumptions. Anyhow, I will get to the other topic now because I think AEW Big Business is about to get underway. Berkey 711. Hey, Robin, I'm a Jets fan. This just makes us look even more like a joke. And he just said, keep the noise outside. Well, look, this is based on the Aaron Rodgers thing. The newest news around Aaron Rodgers and his whole Sandy Hook conspiracy he's apparently believed in, had going on. I don't know what to say. I really don't. Let me pull up the story for a second. I really don't know what to say. It's a bummer. It's a bummer to even have to talk about. It really is. This was the story from CNN. And even just it being from CNN makes it divisive because the people online are going to be like, CNN's fake news and they got an agenda against Aaron Rodgers. And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and say, this is them trying to cause a distraction because I'm linked to who's the guy, RFK, whatever. It's not surprising. And I went back and forth with somebody online about it who said anonymous sources. Oh, look, another article with anonymous sources. And I'm thinking to myself, really? The reporter involved here says that they were the one told about this from Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, Vice President Rodgers, that is. Here's the thing with Aaron Rodgers and all this. I almost don't want to give these things oxygen because what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to tell somebody that believes something like that? Right? And I want to respect everybody's viewpoints and point of view and beliefs and all that stuff. I do. But there are certain things that, I mean, when you get into Sandy Hook, you're talking about people's children who were murdered. You know, I can hear my kids upstairs murmuring. I just took my daughter back from practice. I just, talked to my son a second ago. He was telling me about his PS5 games and his WWE 2K. I just was playing with my youngest earlier. And even his like innocent, like when I'm stressed out about something, and trust me, I've been stressed out about stuff lately. And Big Ro comes in here. That's my littlest, but he's big. And it says, "Daddy, can you play with me?" And I just hear the purity and the innocence in his voice. "Daddy, can you play with me?" Dude, of course I can play with you. You know? Of course I can play with you. Doesn't matter what's going on with me. And look, I'm not Cody Rhodesing it here. Whenever I just even allow myself to think about something like that, it's unimaginable. You know, those parents whose kids went to school one day and didn't come home. You know, and for all my worries and stresses in life, or what's going to be next, what do I do next, how do I get to the next thing, how do I navigate this current thing, money, relationship, stress, any of that stuff, I try to remember, as long as you're healthy and they're healthy, everything's good. I'm taking my son to WrestleMania coming up, and I feel like that's like a lifelong memory, and I just can't imagine it. With that said, and that's why when I say that to say, if you're talking about, yeah, that was the point of the liner. That's the Cody Crybabies. He gave them fuel. When you talk about respecting other people's viewpoints and everything, I'm sorry, you can't call Sandy Hook a conspiracy. You just can't. Now, I want to let Aaron Rodgers speak for himself. Also, I know he said some wacko stuff in the past, plenty of wacko stuff in the past, but I want to let him speak for himself. And I also am cognizant that this is, what's the word for the story? Kevin Zwicker says, sounds like a Rodgers hit piece. What kind of source is a private convo from 11 years ago? Plus, at the time, Rodgers made a statement showing sympathy. I mean, I don't know. I doubt the reporter made it up, right? I doubt the reporter made it up. At the same time, it was a long time ago. I don't know what Rodgers thinks now. I don't know what exactly his point of view was then. And I know it's become like it's almost a cottage industry to sort of bash Aaron Rodgers. It's easy. It's low-hanging fruit. And low-hanging fruit can be very delicious. It can taste just as good as the fruit that's up higher. Right? But here's the thing with it. Like, I made the joke yesterday when the vice president report came out, and I was thinking to myself, all right, well, I just need to know his stance on vaccines, right? That's it. I just need to know Rodgers' stance on vaccines. A joke, clearly, because that's all the guy has talked about for however long. This is a whole different animal. There's nothing to joke about with this. There's nothing funny about it. There's nothing I want to take pride in. I want to let the man speak for himself. I want to know the exact context of what was said, why it was said. But at the same time, this goes for anybody. Forgetting Aaron Rodgers, you can't think Sandy Hook was a conspiracy. That's not an acceptable point of view. Like it's, I will welcome anybody's point of view. I will welcome anybody's argument. I will have a discussion with anybody about anything. I like to think I'm a very open-minded person. I do. But you can't, that's not a point of view you can have. People lost their babies. People lost their babies. Sounds like a Rogers. Everyone has their own opinion. It's just until you call me crazy that doesn't make sense. People's kids were in school and murdered in cold blood. As Michael Martin says, non-starter. I'm sorry. Like that's crazy. It's a crazy thing to think and believe. Like it's just not, it's not a point of view. It's bullshit. And it's sad. But I'm not going to sit here and run victory laps around it either, because it just makes me sad. I don't know, what Rogers is off doing or on his ayahuasca thing, or what his deal is right now. I don't know. But it's not something I don't even take pride in bashing him over it. I don't even have the energy for it. It just sucks. Just sucks. I hope he comes out and I hope he comes out and says, even if he attacks CNN or the reporter, I just hope he comes out and says, I don't believe that. That's it. That would be the best thing, no matter how he does it. But he's going to do some coy crap about the media and the mainstream media and the blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing like the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Yeah, like, why are we talking about freaking Jeffrey Epstein? Why would you lump people? What joy do you get if anyone is on the Epstein freaking list? It's like it goes back to the AEW thing I was just talking about with the fans who were like hoping Triple H is like, why would it give you joy for anybody to be caught up in terrible things? That's why sometimes I do think COVID broke everybody's brain. Aaron Rodgers would be near the top of that list. By the way, it is official. That graphic that we knew was coming, it has happened. Mercedes, is it Money is all elite. There's the official graphic via Tony Khan. I got the show recording. I'll watch it when I'm done here. I also have basketball on Wednesday nights. I really enjoy my basketball run on Wednesday nights, so I'll have to catch it a little bit later. But I do have it recording. And obviously, that means she has shown up on the program. Here's what it looked like when she showed up on the program. Let me play it for you while I got it. Again, if you're watching this later and you see a weird hiccup in the broadcast, it's because I had to cut something out. That's usually the case, because I played something that I don't have rights to or whatever, and they make me trim it out later. But for now, for the live broadcast, I think it's always worth it. And so I would say that's the second biggest signing in AEW history, behind CM Punk. I think that's fair, right? The second biggest signing in AEW history behind CM Punk. And she deserves it, like Kevin says here in the chat. She definitely deserves it. I'm still like now worked up from even thinking about it. I don't like, why do I have to think about Sandy Hook today? And by goodness gracious, the poor parents who have to think about Sandy Hook every day of their lives. Every day of their lives. It's just sad and gross and disgusting and pathetic. I had a couple other things I wanted to get into today. Before I do, let me remind you guys, if you could like, subscribe, all that stuff to the channel, that would be much appreciated. Click those thumbs up. please do that for me. Especially guys who are in here every day, please just click the likes for me. Comment for me. If you're in here and you're not commenting, I mean, it's cool. You can watch without commenting, but it's always cool if you're a part of the show too. And if you want to comment later, comment later. I will get back to you later as well. This is an interactive experience. It's nothing. I can do my little monologues, but then once those are done, I'm just hitting end the stream, and that's it without you guys. So appreciate that. And make sure you do that. Now, the Aaron Rodgers thing is a decent segue into this, which is the TikTok ban. And this is another, like, how people have made this point, but it's true. Like, we can ban TikTok, but not assault weapons. Well, they're assault weapons of the mind in TikTok. I don't know. First of all, I'm not even sure. I get it. The Chinese government and all that is supposed to be spying on us, and I'm sure that's probably the case. And I've also read that basically, like, TikTok in China is giving you food for your brain, versus here you're giving you junk for the brain, and that it's just the algorithm and the stuff that it spits out. I also, there was a part of me that resented TikTok for a little while, because in my career, I've been so successful doing videos and whatnot, but I didn't build up my own TikTok because I didn't know I needed to. And then, I saw all these influencers, if you will, who had TikTok followings get promoted and fawned over, and it was just me, like, thinking, oh, all I got to do is like, and I could get all these followers, but I don't fundamentally believe in banning TikTok or this bill. I mean, they say 150, 170 million users. I don't believe that number either. Active. I know a lot of people use TikTok. That's like half the population. Older people aren't using TikTok like that. Babies aren't using TikTok like that. I mean, they do call me Unk over on TikTok. I've seen that. BZ525 says, cool that you're on. You talk about good content. Oh, thank you. A compliment. I appreciate that. It's nice to see actual compliments out there. I thought he was saying, when I first read that, because I'm so used to, like, people being dicks sometimes, it said, cool that you're on. I thought he was saying talk about good content, as if I wasn't. It was actually a genuine compliment. So thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. BZ. But, this TikTok thing, it just feels like a waste of time and energy. And it happened so quickly. Like, we can't get real things done, but we can ban TikTok. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I don't think if TikTok is banned, it's going to be the end of the world either. There are alternatives. Instagram, obviously, and Reels there, and YouTube Shorts. All these things. But I just don't think it's necessary. And there are much more pressing problems than TikTok. I'm trying to even think of what are the big clear. There's the privacy and data concerns, but didn't Facebook already go through that? It's like they're trying to get Meta what you call it, a monopoly, because everybody was trying to run Twitter or X into the ground for a minute there, which is still, to me, the go-to app for information and for getting a message out quickly. But with the Threads thing, that was like cool for a few minutes. I don't know. Let me know if Threads is still popping. I'm on every platform. It's hard to have energy to be on like all of them and post everything to everything all at once. But, and I got no issues with Instagram or Facebook. I mean, I've been trying to get back. I got a lot of traction on Facebook lately, and I'm remembering just how many Facebook users there are and how, the demographics of Facebook probably align with what I put out there. So I'm cognizant of that. And I don't even really use TikTok. I post to TikTok, but I'm posting those videos that I do to all these platforms, and they've really been picking up on TikTok lately, like the Jordan LeBron thing, which we'll get to in a minute, but that has, 120,000 plays on TikTok. 120,000 plays on TikTok. So I'm starting to, build up the audience there. But I don't even, what I mean is I don't use TikTok recreationally. I just post there. So it doesn't matter to me. I just don't see the point. I think one side wants to ban it so that there'll be huge outrage, and that same side say they'll bring TikTok back if you vote them back in. Are the TikTok users voters? Are they voters, or are they too young to vote? I'm not even sure they're voters. I just folded my hair the wrong way. I always look at the orientation on these things. Look at this. Now I got to roll with it. Let me see how bad I can just mess it up for the rest of the show. Because I didn't realize I can never do that right. It's the hardest thing in the world to push it in the correct direction, and point in the correct direction for the likes and subscribes and all that. Ernesto says, damn, you almost put that guy through the table. I think he was referencing this comment, who I was complimenting. But yeah, if you want to know my position, I'm not in favor of banning TikTok. And I feel like there are much more productive things that can be done with the government's time and resources than going after TikTok. Namely, some of the gun assault weapons and the like, and plenty of the other stuff that's going on in the world right now. But of course, here we are in the same cycle. Biden and Trump coming up. Let's go. Who's excited? Not me. I used to have energy for that shit. I don't even have energy for it. I don't even have energy for it anymore. I always have energy for Jordan. Oh, wrong banner. Always have energy for Jordan and LeBron. But one thing I don't have energy for is this new thing of accusing the guys of using steroids all the time. Jordan fans have been doing it with LeBron, basically saying he's juicing as a way to tear him down. And now Gilbert Arenas sort of insinuated that Michael Jordan has used steroids because there was not stringent testing back at that period of time. I just want to say, let's not here, let me play it. I'll play a second of it for you before we delve into it. LeGoat James, of course, is the account.
He played 37 years.
I'm scoring whenever I want.
But I'm saying the guy he beat played the same amount of years.
It would be 45,000 points if Michael Jordan played 22 years.
We don't know.
I don't.
We can guess.
We do know.
We don't.
We do fucking know.
We don't know.
Why you ain't never tired when you're on the floor?
Same reason Michael Jordan wasn't tired when he was on the floor. If we want to go there, let's not go there.
So tell me why.
You can run it. You can run that same narrative everybody's running.
Why?
But I can tell you, go look at 8.
You're 40. You're never tired. My knees hurt watching you.
Okay.
You doing this?
Hey, do y'all know Jordan?
Yeah.
Jordan, y'all didn't hear that? We played.
You ain't tired?
We played 3 rounds of 18 holes of golf in the day, and then Jordan come out and give us 55. I'm tired as hell, but Jordan wasn't.
You ain't sweating?
Yeah,
Why
Jordan
you ain't
wasn't
sweating on the floor.
Jordan wasn't sweating either.
You're 40. You supposed to be sweating at least.
3 rounds of 18
Why you not
golf.
tired?
But I'm saying, whatever you're saying, just remember, there's 6 tests now. There was
Why you talking
one
about
test.
tests?
I'm just saying, there's 6 tests now.
No tests.
I know what you're trying to get. There's 6 tests now. There was 1 test back then.
So there's no proof. Jordan wasn't tired after playing golf, and there were fewer tests. And I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying LeBron James hasn't taken steroids or PEDs or whatever. I'm not saying Michael Jordan didn't either. I don't know. And frankly, I really don't care. And I think most people don't care. And that's the root of this. Most people don't care. They only care because of their agendas. And that's where the GOAT debate has gone too far. Because we don't need to baselessly be accusing either LeBron or Jordan of using steroids. They're great. Look, I think LeBron is the best basketball player ever. You guys know that. If you've listened to me, if you've heard me, if you've followed me, I believe that. With that said, I don't want to crap on. I did the show about this last night. I don't want to crap on Michael Jordan and his legacy and what he meant to the game and how great he was. I mean, just because you want to argue LeBron or you want to argue Jordan, you don't have to besmirch the other guy with those sort of baseless allegations. And I know, there was once a LeBron biogenesis thing. It was investigated and cleared, by the way. And LeBron was a physical freak since he was a child. There was a reason he was the chosen one. And he's on that damn cover right there. Because he was a child prodigy who was always a physical freak. So yeah, he's played for a long time. And it's not normal. Could something be going on? Of course. And yeah, Michael Jordan played in a time where they weren't testing. Could something have been going on? Of course. I'm not naive enough to think that elite athletes haven't used stuff before. We've seen it. We've seen it. It's only baseball that anybody even cares because of the hallowed records. It's just a lame thing to do, to accuse either guy of using steroids because you feel like arguing one over the other. It's just lame. I think the LeBron MJ debate of movies is Adam Sandler's funniest film, Happy Gilmore versus Billy Madison. What say you? Whew, I used to be a Billy Madison guy. That silly penguin is back again. The people at the zoo are very nice, penguin. They treat you real respectable like. But I think now I'm a Happy Gilmore guy. As I've gotten a little older, Happy Gilmore guy. But yes, two classics back to back out the gate by the Sandman. No question. Kevin Zwicker, MJ versus LeBron debate is so pointless to me because there is no stat or argument someone could come up with that would convince the other side to change their mind. Yeah, that's true too. That is also true. It will go back and forth forever, but that's part of the reason it's great too. That's part of the reason we like it, because there is no definitive winner. So it's, I don't think it's that bad. That's the reason it's an argument. If there was a definitive winner, it wouldn't be so much of an argument anymore. And it would be able to be settled. But it cannot be settled. So hence it goes on and on and on and on and on and round and round and round we go. It's the greatest debate in the history of sports talk. It is the A track. There are reports LeBron was, yeah, of course. I mean, people have been hating on LeBron forever. I just, sorry, I don't have the energy to accuse these guys, these greats, of stuff just because I feel like arguing one way or the other. It's kind of garbage if you ask me. Definitely very lame. What else we got today? Oh, there was one other thing I had on the rundown. Then we can get any other comments you want in, any other questions you want to ask. But I did see this. We'll the last topic I'll put up was a fun one. I've seen this a couple times in the last few days, just fluctuating across the timeline. And I want to say the Hulk or King Kong. That's the question that's been asked. And this is really not a question, guys. I got to be honest with you. Really not a question at all. The MCU has done some irreparable damage to the Incredible Hulk. If people think this was a question or is a question, the Hulk would absolutely smash King Kong in under a second. I don't think people realize how strong and how powerful the Hulk is and has been portrayed in the past. The Hulk is something else. And they did it in Avengers. I remember talking to Joe Quesada, the famous artist, and he was part of, the brain trust behind Marvel and the MCU in the early days. And, I asked him if they were going to do the Hulk justice. And he said, just wait for Avengers. And they did, the whole, I'm always angry. And I think you got some of that in Thor Ragnarok when he goes after the monster. But the Thanos thing And I get why they had Thanos whoop the Hulk's ass at the beginning of Infinity War. Like, I get that. That's like putting over the new wrestler, right? Like, you're coming in and then I remember what they said with like the Undertaker's debut. I think he threw Dusty Rhodes around, and it was like, wow, he could throw Dusty Rhodes. You know, like when you come in and you beat somebody. When Brock Lesnar destroyed John Cena, that leaves an imprint. That leaves an imprint. So I got that, but then the Hulk being afraid and going into Professor Hulk and all that at the same time, that made it tough. That made it tough. Still mad we never got a good Hulk movie. That's true. He's a hard character to get a good movie out of. I mean, he's more of a supporting character and like an elite supporting character, even back in the comic book days. But World War Hulk would make a hell of a movie. That's the one I want to see. Hulk versus Wolverine. I've done a show on that before. Would be cool. If you guys haven't seen, hang on one second. If you notice up here, I've got Hulk and Wolverine, but this is actually Incredible Hulk number 181. It's ripped, but it's the first appearance of Wolverine. Wolverine made his first appearance in an Incredible Hulk comic book. I wish that wasn't ripped because it would be worth a lot of money if it wasn't ripped. But it's still cool to have in my possession. I also have the issue before and the issue after back here. And a Hulk Wolverine movie would be really cool. Just like, I don't know if anybody ever saw the Hulk versus cartoon back in the day. That was pretty damn cool. There was a Hulk versus cartoon that went on for a while, or that was out. It was Hulk against Thor, and he beat Thor to death in that. And then there was Hulk against Wolverine. And of course, you get to see the violence of Wolverine when you have something like that. So I Hulk, World War Hulk would be the one though, because if you don't follow the comics, basically part of Thor Ragnarok's plot is based around something called Planet Hulk, where the Illuminati of the Marvel universe, I think in the comics at that point it was Reed Richards, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, Black Bolt, maybe some variation of that. They sent Hulk away because they thought he was too dangerous. He lands on this other planet. He takes a bride. He's on this gladiator planet, and he, is in charge. He becomes the boss over there. But then his ship explodes, kills his wife, and he comes back to Earth to take revenge. And that's World War Hulk. And he just lights the Avengers and everybody up in Madison Square Garden. It's one of the coolest comics ever. That's the one that would make an ill movie. And that's the one that could redeem the Hulk. Because Hulk destroys King Kong. Like, destroys him. It's not even a competition. It's not even close. It's not even close. So it's silly to me that would even be discussed. Let me play a bit before I get out of here. Mercedes, her actual talking debut on the mic, which is good to see AEW put her on the mic, of course. Let me find it real quick. We'll play a second or two of it. Sort of similar to the CM Punk return promo in a way, where very thankful I'm home and all that stuff. I'll catch the full one. I'm sure you guys, some of you saw the full one earlier, but that's that's the long and short of it. Can you be an AEW and a WWE fan? I think, what is this? Mufasal? You said, I think they can. What are you talking about? What's the what you think? What can? You got to give me the context of the comment so I can appropriately react to it. But yeah, that's everything I got for the show. Let me see if he follows up. Oh, WWE fans accepted Cody back. So you think, all right, moral of the story, back to the top. You think that WWE and AEW fans can get along? That's the question I asked. I got it. He's responding to the question that I asked, and that's true. And I think it's those AEW fans who welcomed Cody back, who have helped now, who have helped build this support around Cody Rhodes. And those wrestling fans have helped that movement for him in WWE. So for him going to WWE was a big move. Definitely a big move. Looks like YouTube has already picked up some of that AEW streaming that I played. So hopefully when you're watching later, you won't. I'll zip out. I'll clip out anything that I played that I shouldn't have played. But if you're watching on the stream later, that's why it will look a little weird whenever I clip it out. I don't know what the rules are. When you turn on content ID matching, YouTube automatically generates claims against. We'll see. We'll see what they say after the fact. I don't think I'll actually get in trouble or anything like that. Just reacting in real time to these things. I appreciate you guys as always. Please like and subscribe to the channel and all that. Comment, share. Sharing is important. If you really like me and you want other people to like me, share the stuff with them. And comment later. If you're watching this later as well, I will get back to you, and I will be back here tomorrow on this same Robin Lundberg channel.